My name is Tharusha Deegala and I'm a second year undergraduate at the University of Perera and I study law. And I'm a writer. I write poetry, I write prose, I write short stories, fiction, creative and factual essays, and even songs. So I'm a writer in general, I suppose. In terms of what inspires me to write, I would say it's feelings. It's what my heart feels. As cliche as it sounds, it's life in general. Life inspires me to write, and my take on it, basically. When things get too much, when things get overwhelming, and or if I give something thought more than probably the necessary amount, I tend to turn to writing. These walls are rustic now. It's been some time now, and the blood has dried out, fingernails healed now. I'm back on my couch, basking in the home that is merely a house now, yearning for a crumbling memory of 4 prison walls which have inside my heart become my home now. Water droplets swinging in steadiness, a piece of art hung up high in the gallery, a paper boat floating towards the highlands of a stream lost in my memory, a cherub face that is a fully fledged adult now. Years I have lost, years I won't ever get back, like the farewell card I lost when they took away my wallet, like the bush of roses we lost when they burnt the house down. Like everything in between the pages of my poetry collection from when I was a kid, I have diluted the present so well with the past, the lines are blurry now. I was breathing all this time, but I wasn't aware of it. But I'm breathing now. I'm breathing now. If I am to beg you to stop, I might as well beg you to come in. Come in and shut the doors so tight that even if the blood mixes into the walls, the only way of escaping will be breaking them down. Down to the dust where you and I lie still right now, avoiding songs that remind us of the dark red sunsets and horses in heat, and every little musical note that kept us up at midnight with a sense of urgency. Urgency bleeding in the lives that we lost, all at the peril of gut-wrenching madness. Madness which only appears and reappears when we hug each other tight, our backs turned to one another's hearts. Hearts so bruised and brokenly numb that they don't even hiss at the pain of us or beat at the beauty of us. Us, us, us. Us that was so violently disfigured only a framed masterpiece could hold us in place. Too wild without each other that we now lie scattered and scattered, running away from one another, head first into each other's icy warm, open arms again and again and again. It's time, the voice said. The voice said, it's time. The waves rushed along with pictures and Polaroids. And pain. I know you more than I know my mom. We both treat you like the next door neighbor we both know we don't like, but has no choice but to welcome when it knocks. I know you well, enough to be part of your skin for some time, while you spread out on my couch unwelcomed, munching on my cookies. I know your name so intimately. Though my mom thinks you are her secret lover, I dare say we drink wine and bond at 4 a.m. more than any other legendary lover. Show me where the waves are, and I'll show you where I keep my doses of hope to salvage another night. And at this point, I don't even know whether I hate you or love you anymore. You're an ant, you're a giant, and sometimes you're the wind. And sometimes you are the reason I bleed, and bleed, and bleed, and bleed. I've been a writer for as long as I can remember. Ever since I was around 6, 7-ish years of age, I've been writing, and I've always wanted to be, to grow up into a proper writer of sorts. Some of my favorite writers, I would say, are Sylvia Plath, Anne Sexton, Charles Bukowski, even William Shakespeare. His sonnets especially are pretty cool. He's amazing. And I also read a lot of work by contemporary modern artists, modern writers. And in fact, one of my all-time favorite writers is someone whose name I actually do not know, because she runs an anonymous blog on Tumblr called Inkskinned, and I adore her work. I'm a huge fan of hers.
Tharusha Deegala's poetry, there are at least 2 points that interest me at this juncture, this limited encounter I have had. Number one is the continuous, what I might call a double negotiation that happens throughout the poetry. And what I mean by double negotiation is that there is an ongoing negotiation. It's a kind of a friction with the outside, while at the same time there is a much more powerful, over-imposing inner negotiation happening with the self. So this is something you see consistently from poems like Now, all the way down to poems like A Note Found Floating in the River Thames at 2 a.m. This is a very refreshing dialectic that you find, which governs the poetry, both the conceptualizing of the writing as well as its execution. And the second important aspect for me is something to do with an inherent dissonance in the poetry. You see how Tharusha kind of rapidly moves across a succession of dissonant notes. So it's like a series of, I think it's best understood if you think of it in terms of music, or rather using music as an image, where a person plays a succession of discordant chords in sequence. As I mentioned earlier, I see these poems as negotiations, external and internal. And for me, what stands out is that internal dealing, internal negotiation. The poetry is just like a reflection or an impression of that play of tensions and how you kind of mediate with them. So this inherent overlying noir element is very refreshing and powerful in that way as well.
I publish my work through Instagram. I have a poetry account called Tharu Poetry. It's at Tharu Poetry, and I've been showcasing my poetry and prose on it since 2015, for the past 5 years or so. And I hope I will be able to publish some of my work, hopefully, in the future. Because I've always wanted to be a proper writer, professional writer.